Hi, I'm Connie Moser, and welcome to Nights at the Round Table. Each week we interview someone from our community who is an influencer, somebody that we consider to be a community leader or has influence in our community. This week our guest is John Gray. John's a certified public accountant within our community, and he has an office in Lake Ridge. John is active in many different aspects of the financial sector within our community, and he always has some special insights on our county's finances. Welcome, John. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Connie.
So, you want to tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, how did you come to be in Prince William County? What made you settle here?
My wife and I are originally from New York, and 26 years ago we decided we wanted to move to a better environment for our four children who were much younger at that time. And frankly, we very quickly settled on Virginia and took a wrong turn on 95 and came south of 95 because we were actually looking up in Loudoun County and up there, and came to Prince William County and immediately liked Lake Ridge area, and we decided right there and then we were going to move here. It's really that simple.
So you came from another state
Yes,
here?
New York.
New York.
Right.
And you were in the military?
No.
No?
I was in the Marine Corps from 1969 to 73. This was back in 1986 that we moved here.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so we.
Okay.
Really, I mean that.
I know you usually have a pretty comprehensive view about finances in Prince William County, and I wonder if you could just briefly tell us where we're standing in 2013.
I've got grave concerns about where we're heading to, simply because of the federal government and the fiscal cliff that we just went through, the sequestration that's going to come into play. Virginia is very tightly wound in with the federal government, and especially Northern Virginia. There is no question our economy in Northern Virginia is absolutely based on the federal government. And with the sequestration coming down, I think we're in for a significant economic hit.
I know you and Bill Golden from PwC Politics, sure. I know you both had similar views on that. We all had some serious concerns, but it seemed to me that Prince William County wasn't really overly convinced that sequestration was going to be a big bump in the road for us.
And I think that's a significant oversight on their part. I think we absolutely need to be looking towards that because of the effect that it will have on the Prince William County economy and Prince William County budget, which is called real estate taxes. And I don't think that we're prepared for it. I think we've got, frankly, our head in the sand. If we ignore the problem, it won't exist. The problem exists, and we have to address it.
Do you think I know we're coming up on budget season, and so there's already discussion about the residential tax rate. Do you feel that there'll be a significant rise in the tax rate?
Well, in July, the supervisors guaranteed us a 4% real estate tax increase for the next 4 years, which compounded comes to a 32% increase in real estate taxes over the next 4 years. Before they've proposed any new programs or anything, we are guaranteed a 4% increase in the real estate tax rate. So the answer is yes.
What is that for, that increase?
It's directly related to the $50 million bond project on Route 1 to build, if I remember correctly, 2.1 miles of of road on Route 1. Now, agreeably, Route 1 needs to be renovated, but we've been talking about it for 25 years. Just because interest rates are very low, I don't think that that's the right reason that we need to be doing it. We should have been looking ahead and say that can we really afford another $50 million project on Prince William County's balance sheet at this point? Now, my answer is no.
That's because it seems like when we hear you're saving money because construction costs are lower, interest rates are lower, and so we're actually saving money. But if you're spending money that you weren't going to spend, you're not saving money.
Exactly.
Is that the way
that's exactly
simplified?
Yeah, we did not save money in the last campaign. It was touted that the county cut $143 million in spending. Over the summer, we learned exactly what I said, is that we didn't cut $143 million in spending. We didn't have the money to spend. They admitted that $143 million was in the future year's budget. You can't spend in the future year's budget. We didn't have the money now, we don't have the economic base.
Well, when you cut, when they make those cuts that were projected for future budgets, though, what happens, say for example, in the CIP, we have a police station that's been on the books for a number of years. And so when they make those big budget cuts and they cut those projects in the future, how do you get those projects back online?
The reason they had to cut those future budgets was because the land values didn't support the spending, because we have self-imposed spending constraints, which is good. All right? So we can't issue bonds that exceed, if I remember correctly, more than 3% of the value of the land book value in Prince William County.
I'm sorry, what is the land book value?
The value of your house.
Oh,
the value of real estate in Prince William County. Every year in January, it's reappraised. All right. Well, in the last several years, that's gone down significantly. So therefore, in order to make up for those revenues, you have to increase the real estate tax rate. Well, there's a political limit to how much real estate tax rates can be raised. All right. Well, the only way they could get around that is to cut future spending and say, well, we're not going to spend it because we don't have the economic base. They were hoping, and their projections, I believe, stated, and I want to emphasize that doesn't mean it supported it. It stated that, oh, land values are going to increase, therefore we can raise the real estate tax rate to build the, the Mid-County Police Station.
Yes.
All right, and several other things. The trouble is that the land values aren't there. The land values increases that we've seen in the last 2 years are artificially inflated due to the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing. The sole purpose of quantitative easing, where the interest rates are down and the Federal Reserve is buying government bonds, all the spending, all right, the sole purpose of quantitative easing was not only to fund the federal deficit, but it also, its absolute stated purpose was to artificially inflate asset values, assets being stocks, bonds, and land. So once that quantitative easing stops, those land values are going to go back down, just like the stock market is going to go down and interest rates are going to go up. We've got...
So what does that mean to those projects? That they will never be built?
Well,
or?
not never, but certainly they're not going to be built in the next 2, 3, not in the foreseeable future. Certainly not in the next 3 or 4 years. That's not going to happen.
Can you just briefly describe the way the county operates its budget? How, I know there's a proportion of our budget goes to schools, and then the schools have their own budget committees and their own, we just essentially give them 57% or something like that, is that?
Yeah, 56.75% of all the tax dollars raised in Prince William County automatically goes over to the school board. That was done many years ago under the, when Sean Connaughton was the chairman. They came to an agreement that 56.75 of all general fund revenues, virtually all general fund revenues, would go automatically to the school board. Then the school board would build its own budget. All right?
Do you personally think that's a good way to divide our budget?
Not anymore, because there's no accountability by the school board to the taxpayers owing that 56.75%, because they know they're going to get 56.75%. Here's the problem. Because they're getting 56.75% automatically, all right, the county government has to budget, okay, that for every dollar that they raise in taxes, 56% goes to the county. Goes to the school board, and the balance goes to the county. So take, for example, a police car. Instead of costing, let's say, $36,000, that police car is going to cost $50,000, because we know 56% of that cost is going to go.
Oh, so you have to add that.
It's got to be, yes, it's got to be marked up. It's got to be added to it, because we're just giving them a flat percentage. We're not funding the expenses of the school board. We're just saying, here, take this. So when the county needs something, irrespective of the school board, we have to inflate that value to get to the net 46% that we're going to get. It's a horrible way of doing business.
Does anybody else budget like that? Is that
Nobody budgets like that. Not one county in Northern Virginia gives the flat percentage to the school board, okay? And there's not one county in Virginia does it. At the time it was done, all right, it sounded like a good idea. All right, why? Revenues were raising, real estate values were going up, schools needed more funding, things like that. So it was a way to give them a fixed percentage and avoid a public fight of how much money they needed. So ostensibly, it was a good idea. But now we see all these years later, it's not a good idea. It absolutely raises the price of the general government so that we can cover the 56% for the county government. On top of that, it's completely unaccountable. They do not report. The school board doesn't report to the Board of Supervisors. They're their own privately elected.
So they don't have to get
Publicly
any.
elected,
They
excuse
don't.
me.
They don't have to get any approval for anything it's.
Their budget technically is approved by the Board of Supervisors.
And does it have to balance for 5 years or?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's supposed to balance. Okay? It doesn't necessarily balance, all right?
And
It's
yet
not
I
required
hear-
by law, it's not required in the out years to be balanced. Being financially prudent, you want it to balance, but the school board in the past has had a 5-year budget projection that was not funded, meaning balanced, all right? They were going to tackle that in the past. The Board of Supervisors does its best to fund or at least balance their 5-year budget. There's no question on that. But that doesn't mean it's the right budget. It's just that, well, the numbers work.
And yet, to avoid overburdened government, isn't it better to kind of, I'm a little vague on this myself, because for example, the Park Authority was a separate entity for a very long time.
Right.
And now the Park Authority is Park and Recs, and it's under Prince William County government.
Right, it was merged in.
Is that a better way to manage money for that organization?
Well, it is at this point because the Park Authority wasn't being managed independently in the right sense. Okay, so the best way to get control of it is to bring it under the control of the county government. Trouble is that there's not that much confidence anymore in the county government that they can do the right thing on that.
Well, back to the schools, I have often heard it said that our for each child in our school, that we give significantly less funding for education than, say, Arlington, or is that?
On a generalized basis, you could use that argument, but the question is, what are you doing with Prince William County spends, if I remember correctly, about $10,000 per student. The question is, what are you spending the $10,000 on? Okay, how much of that $10,000 goes into the classroom, meaning teachers, books, supplies, things directly on school, and how much goes to administrative overhead? Okay, that could be cut. I think, in the sense of the school budget, that far too much has grown in the non-classroom expenditures that it's squeezing the classroom. Every parent in this county knows that they're going to buy papers and books and pens and pencils in the classroom, all right? But meanwhile, we see the overhead at the KEC, the Kelly Education Center,
Yes.
grow exponentially. I mean, there is an area superintendent for virtually everything, and I joke about it to a certain degree, but like there's an area superintendent for light bulbs. Do we need all these area superintendents, number one? Because again, it's just growing and growing and growing every year. Does every middle school have to have 3 assistant principals in there? Has anybody looked and said, can we get along with 2? All
Yeah.
right? High schools, yeah, there's about 3,000 students in a high school, all right? So, yeah, at the high school level, you may need 3 or 4 assistant principals, but really at an elementary school, someone needs to look and examine that and say, where are the dollars going to? So it's not just a matter of, we spend $10,000 in Prince William, but if I remember correctly, Arlington spends $13,000, all right? Where's the money going into the classroom?
Okay, well, I don't want to keep you on that one topic the rest of your life, although
That's okay.
I probably could. So I wonder if you would tell me if there was anything you could do, if there was just one thing you could do in Prince William County to make our community more economically stable, what would it be?
To make it more economically stable,
What would be a better source of revenue? Now we pretty much exist on residential housing. Is that correct?
We have to increase the base of the commercial to residential, and the reason for that is commercial and residential pays the same rate. All right, many states have differential rates. All right, in for the most part, in Virginia, cities can have a higher tax rate. All right, for commercial versus residential, but counties can't. They have to be the same rate. Houses consume a lot of dollars in services. They have schools, all right, fire, police,
Right.
libraries. Families use those things. All right,
Sure.
so when you have a high base of families, they're not the real estate taxes paid by the residences that they live in, whether it's a single-family house or an apartment building, do not cover the cost of the services that are provided.
Right.
A commercial building does not utilize the libraries, does not utilize the schools. All right, the roads for their employees are already paid by the employees, so commercial real estate is far more efficient in building. That's why you want to have a much higher base in commercial rate. 25% of the commercial base is a good objective to reach. We haven't come close to that.
Right.
The highest we've ever come, to my recollection, is 19%. I believe now we're even down to 17%. We're going in the wrong direction.
That's why we're always trying to catch up.
and
We
we
never
can't-
have enough schools built.
Exactly.
We are always racking up debt because we cannot catch up, because the proffers that are offered by brand new developments are typically what you can probably describe that better than I can without using any.
Our proffers, and you know what a proffer is, all right, is skewed against the school system. If we look at our surrounding counties, the highest proffers that they pay is towards the school portion. In Prince William County, the highest proffers are paid towards transportation. Now, most people say, well, that's a good idea. We need roads, right? Except that you and I are paying for the roads people drive through Prince William County,
Right.
okay, to their other jobs in Northern Virginia in the district, okay? So if we're spending more money on the roads than we're spending on schools, I mean, it doesn't
Sure.
take a CPA to figure out the schools are taking a big hit. But we're the only county of our surrounding counties where the proffers for road construction is much higher than it is for schools. Every other county, their school proffers are significantly more than transportation.
Well, you can't keep up with once the proffers are made. That's a one-time funding. That doesn't go on for life. They don't continue to maintain those roads that are built.
Change the formula. Okay? That's how you fix it. You change the formula. Unfortunately, our supervisors, okay, our elected officials, okay, this is who puts in the transportation dollars? The developers.
Sure.
Okay? Developers make significant campaign contributions.
Oh,
Okay? That's the reality. A lot of people don't want to admit that. All right? But you and I know it. I know it. Everybody else knows it. Developers make significant campaign contributions. All right? So they dictate it. All right? They want to build. All right? So the county says, fine, you want to build. We're going to give you permission to put in, i.e. Avondale, another 234 houses in Brentsville that we don't need. We have a glut of houses, but that developer, Brookfield Homes, received a nice proffer, received permission to build another 234 homes. And, oh, this is great. They're going to give us a significant amount of road dollars, except they're building houses that it's already overburdened.
Right.
Change the formula. That's how you fix it. When you're digging a hole, the best way to get out of that hole is to stop digging the hole. We just continue to dig that hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
well, thank you very much.
Sorry.
No, yeah, I'm not depressed. Okay, so I want to thank you very much for coming tonight, John. You were a great help.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I think we have a lot still to talk about, so I'm going to ask you to return in the future if you don't mind. I'd really like to discuss the flat tax with you.
Be happy to.
Great. All right, this is Connie Moser. I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'll be back again next week, and please, if you would like to come and join us, see the contact information at the bottom of the screen. We'd love to talk to you.